Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cardano Live. I have Dr. Navjeet Dhaliwal with us, Dr. Elad Harrison. They're the CEO and co-founder of Iagon. Give me a sec. Sorry, I just had to fix my audio there real quick. And
No
so they
worries.
are the CEO and co-founder of Iagon. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here with us today. I appreciate you being on Cardano Live. How are you doing today?
Good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having us, Rick.
All right.
Thank you very much, Rick.
All right. Thank you, Elad. Thank you, Navjeet. All right. So tell us a little bit about Iagon. What do you got?
Yeah, well, Iagon is actually a cloud computing platform and storage platform as well, and it bridges decentralization with regulation. We're the first to kind of approach that route, enabling us to target enterprise clients. We have 2 enterprise and 1 academia pilot. We have grants via Innovation Norway, which is government funded, and we just recently closed a 3.4 million USD funding round. We're headed by 4 PhDs that are experts in decentralized computing, AI, cloud computing architecture, and business development. That's a high-level summary.
Yeah, that is an incredible high-level summary. I was so excited for this podcast. And I want to let the viewers know there are links in the description down below. Check out the Iagon website, the Iagon LinkedIn down there, the Iagon Telegram is down there. There's almost 17 employees at your company based on the LinkedIn. Incredible. Large company, large team, a lot of expertise that you guys are bringing to the game here. And you've built Iagon you've been building for quite some time, like on Ethereum, and now you're migrating to or building in addition on Cardano. How's that working out?
Correct. We actually been working on the initial idea actually originated in 2013, actually. I'm a dentist by profession, so actually when I read the first Bitcoin, when I first read the Bitcoin paper, actually, I tried to leverage the blockchain technology onto health records and patient data privacy, things like that. And when we re-approached the idea actually in 2017, there was a lot of similar projects that were doing something similar in a sense that storing data and whatnot in a decentralized fashion, including Coin, Filecoin. So not to reinvent the wheel. I approached some industry experts like Elad, Dr. Elad Harrison, and maybe Elad can take it from there.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I'm coming from the field of AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. And when Navjeet contacted me via LinkedIn, we actually thought that I told him, I know that medical records are the most sensitive data. So why don't we actually do it for any type of data as a generic solution for financial data, for corporate data, for personal data as well. And from there, we originated Iagon. We also coupled with Dr. Rohit Gupta, who is a specialist on decentralized decision-making. And together we incorporated everything into a very interesting architecture, which is powered by AI and machine learning. It gets a sort of smart decision where to allocate the task to which miners and so on and so forth. On the top of that, we also are going to implement the decentralized computing. So the processing power is going to be decentralized. It's going to be low cost relatively to existing solutions in the market. And it's going to solve a lot of economic and financial problems in terms of consuming this kind of very expensive resources by AI companies and startups.
Yeah, and Dr. Rohit Gupta's thesis actually was based on what we're doing today. So his thesis in 2005 is directly related to decentralized compute and decentralized AI. So it actually fit his agenda pretty quick. He wanted to finish his life's work, and he's really motivated to be on as one of the co-founders as well. And we met also Dr. Claudio Lima through there as well. He's the former CTO of Huawei in East Asia as well. And he's the blockchain architect, and he has a lot of insight into different architecture and different routes. We had a working product actually in 2018 or 19, beginning of So it's decentralized storage is ready to go actually on an Ethereum platform, and what we're working now on is more on compliance and regulation to fit GDPR needs, especially for enterprise needs. There's GDPR is a big issue, and we're trying to solve that issue on top of the core product. The reason why our model fits that scenario is that decentralized, we're doing smart allocation instead of random allocation of the shards. So a lot of the storage platforms are sharding and then randomly allocating to the miners or the resource providers. What we're doing is the machine learning is learning the behavior of the resource providers in terms of different variables, including availability, performance, and trustability, different other factors, giving the resource provider a certain score. And based on the score and the end user's needs, we're basically offering them or giving them recommendations on which resource providers might fit their needs. And that also constrains to GDPR, because if you want to allocate your shards just to EU or be GDPR compliant, then the the shards are allocated to resource providers that are just in the EU, smartly but randomly, right? And we saw that there was also on an Ethereum, we're built on Ethereum blockchain, and there was a cost. Transactional cost is very high on Ethereum. Let's face it, and it's not as scalable as well. So we were starting to look at different types of solutions actually last year. And Cardano, we've been following for a while. It's just that the Cardano has had different kind of development phases where they've kind of experimental phases and stuff that they were developing. But finally, they have a hardline way of going about things, and they have a kind of clear path now. So early this year, we actually decided to migrate to Cardano. The reason why we're moving to Cardano is obviously the most decentralized platform, and that fits our motto because we want to be fully decentralized platform, including storage, compute, AI, everything on the platform being decentralized. And Cardano fits our motto in that sense. Also, the transactional costs, very minute compared to Ethereum. The speed, of course, and the scalability is definitely there. So these are the factors that we took into consideration. Also interruptibility, all right, and Cardano is very interruptible, and then it's they also showcased that last year with Ethereum. So these are reasons why we are moving over to Cardano.
Wow, there's a lot. That is an incredible amount of information in just the first few minutes of the podcast. So let me try to break it down bit by bit. So for the viewers who aren't aware, the decentralization of level of Cardano is extremely high. There are 2,500 block producers. There are over 6,000 relays. Each one of them keep a copy of the blockchain. There are over 100,000 instances of data lists. Each one of those keeps a copy of the blockchain. And there are over 500,000 stakers who are delegating on Cardano, who are in effect providing hashing power. That's the equivalent of having over 500,000 GPU miners pointing to 2,500 pools. So that is an extremely high level of decentralization. Okay. So to kind of break that down a little bit, because there's a lot there, is so you have AI working with your cloud service as one feature. And then there's different types of data that you have looked at. There's medical data, which is secure for its reasons. And then there's stuff like business sensitive data, which also needs to be secure and encrypted. So you have methods or techniques for being able to encrypt this data and store it in a cloud manner in such a fashion that, let's say I was a user of that cloud service, I can have my data encrypted. It's sharded and stored on multiple servers, redundant. And then I can somehow access that data and decrypt it. Is that the general idea of what you're building here, what you've actually already built for the most part?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I can describe very briefly how it works, but remember that the whole process is what we call, sorry for the term, idiot proof. So there are no errors. Okay, it's built up for simple people. It's built up for my grandmother, so to say, to operate. Is very transparent. You don't have to be, a computer scientist to operate it. You have to be a layman to operate it. But for the viewers, let me just illustrate how it works. So basically, we have two levels or two layers of encryption. The first one is military-grade encryption, the hash 256, which encrypts at the first layer the files. So if we liken each file to a huge puzzle of pieces, of shards, we actually paint it black. Okay, so even if you get access to one of the shards, you don't really know what it is. Is it a piece of an eye in a portrait? Is it a record within a medical database or whatever? Because it's already encrypted in the high level, in a military degree. And then we multiply it to minimum 3 copies by default. There are more, and this is an inspiration from the Hadoop framework for people who know that. And we take all the pieces of this multiplied blackened puzzle, we break it, and we mix it together, okay? And then we send every piece to different miner. So nobody knows what is the piece, from which file it was originated, who is the originator, when was it uploaded, or any other type of information, except the uploader, which has actually the information in the electronic wallet on the blockchain. Okay, so this has the index, it has the address book, and when that person, the originator, wants to call back the file to read it back from storage, it actually accesses the virtual wallet. It opens the address book and starts calling the miners all the pieces back in order to decrypt the file. Now, on the top of that, remember that we have 3 copies. So we have a competition. Okay, which miner is going to be the first one to get the piece of the file? Okay, which copy will arrive first? So it's a very, very rapid process. It's a very optimal process because on the first instance, we allocated that by the AI to the best miner in terms of the upload time, the download time, the availability online, like 24/7 or perhaps less, the geographical proximity between the uploader and the miner, and variety of other parameters.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So is there another cloud technology involved here, like where the file is actually stored, kind of like IPFS or Block Frost or something like the iCloud? So if I put a huge chunk of data, it's going to put the pieces out there where it belongs, not really on chain or in the miner, but somewhere else out there on the internet. Is that how it works?
Exactly. Yeah, it has a sort of a IPFS in terms of the system, but on top of that, it's very, very secure. Okay, we have the first level of encryption, which is military grade. The second one is blockchain. So if you manage to break Iagon, don't deal with us. Go and start printing your own Bitcoins, okay? Profit from that. Don't get my own personal photographs with this kind of effort. So what I want to say is actually the most secure technology. We call it even a frozen lake because organizations nowadays have data lake. And data lakes are huge depositories of data, of any kind of data, databases, documents, etc., etc. They're protected by a firewall, by a fence, but a hacker, when the hacker overcomes the electronic fence, okay, the cyber fence, he or she can swim in the lake. So getting every type of data. With Iagon, we work actually with a frozen lake. So even if you overcome the protection fence, the cyber fence of organizations like banks, like military, other kinds of organizations you can think, you actually land on a frozen lake because you have a set of encrypted shards that you don't know which shards to call, what's the meaning, how to decrypt them, and how they associate one with each other. And that's the beauty.
So only the person with the original link and the key and the password can actually see where all the shards are located and decrypt all of them and make sense of any of it.
That's right, Rick. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty cool tech.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool tech. And I could use to store, like usually my most important files that are the most encrypted are my personal financial documents, which isn't that big compared to other files. personal, financial, medical records. Those are the things that I want to keep personal, encrypted, hidden from public view. And then there's stuff like media files, like this video, for example. Would it be you? Is it the kind of cloud you would put these videos on, or is it can you, or would you, or is it better for things that have to be guarded?
At this moment, I think it would be just dedicated to smaller files, and eventually we want to actually have those media files available, and also for streaming. I think there's a lot of access for streaming and latency issues that Iagon could solve in that regards with the compute and storage as well.
Okay, because as Elad was saying, it'll find miners that have the fastest response.
Exactly. Yeah, and the geolocation. The more miners or the more resource providers we have, the geolocation and latency will be much lower as well.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds good. And there's some questions coming in from the viewers. Would you guys like to hit a few of those at this point?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So I can pull them up on the bottom from here on this StreamYard. And Firehose Television asks, is there any reason a cloud provider like Google could not quickly recreate a decentralized storage network like this? Filecoin, Sidecoin, Storage, etc. Same model, just different encryption.
That's a great question. I mean, Google could definitely easily create these types of solutions. They have the resources, they have the capacity to do that. Amazon could definitely also do this kind of, but the thing is that they would go against their current model, which is built on data centers and infrastructure. So in order to build something like Iagon, or let's say a similar product like Iagon, they would have to basically tear down their current model, which is they would have to remove all the infrastructure, fire all their staff. That's a lot of costs. So it would be easier for Google and Amazon to actually purchase a working solution instead of competing against it, because we would decrease the cost by up to 80%, and that meaning that Google, if they were to do something similar to that, or Amazon, they would compete against their own. It's kind of in a benefit to compete against their own product and have lower revenue and have so much costs to fit this kind of structure, right? So it's easier for them to kind of buy out a company like that.
Yeah. Plus, Google likes to data harvest too. I mean, they might encrypt. Okay, we're going to encrypt this for you because you said to encrypt it, but we can still see it, right?
There's privacy issues there, and a lot of people have questions about how much actual data they're actually reading, or
And they're working with governments. Sorry, go ahead, Elad.
Sure,
they do.
We're actually wondering when we started a company about the same question. And we actually think that the DNA of companies like Microsoft or Google is actually a centralized DNA, whereas we work with the decentralized manner, fashion, means, and so on, so forth in the project. And we actually liken that in the first stage of Icon to many small Davids, which are the miners, that we actually couple to one place in order to give an alternative. I wouldn't say to combat, but I would say to give an alternative to the big Goliath of the industry, which are like Alibaba, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and so on and so forth. So definitely there is a place for the Goliath of the industry, and definitely there is a place for people like us, which are the community of little small Davids, which together create a rather significant force in the industry.
Exactly.
Yes, and always innovating too. There is a comment from I hear this comment often. This is a great comment. Hupertini says, but one day if the shell's broken, all the information is out there, and eventually we'll have quantum computers that can do that. And I've seen some Google YouTube videos from the lead doctor at IBM who's built a quantum computer, and she said we're a couple decades out. We're still in the infancy. Ben Gertzel believes 20 to 25 years, roughly, approximately. I don't want to quote him on that, but you look at the year 2040, 2045. By then, you guys think you would have better encryption than SHA-256?
I don't think we should be worried about that. I mean, the least thing Iagon should be worried about is quantum computing, because if quantum computing was such an issue, I think there'd be a bigger problem at hand. Banks, other institutes, and other, let's say, monetary value, money and stuff like that. So Iagon would be kind of down on the list for quantum computing hacking. I think if that was an issue, I think that it would be a bigger issue worldwide. I think it would be a huge issue.
There's
Yeah,
bigger
by the way-
targets.
The bigger targets, exactly.
Yeah, I'd like to add that we actually have 2 layers. So we have the SHA 256, as I mentioned. So this is the first layer. On the top of that, we have the blockchain. So there is now an ongoing debate in the academia regarding quantum computing, whether it can hack the blockchain or not. Okay, and there are several opinions for or against the notion that quantum computing can hack the blockchain. Now, the day it will happen, basically the value of all the cryptocurrencies will go to zero, because then the Bitcoin network, the Ethereum, any kind of, Cardano, any kind of network can be hacked. So I think this day, if it would happen, and again, some theoreticians, some researchers say that, well, it will never happen. Okay, the power of blockchain is infinite. It cannot be hacked by quantum computing. Others, well, they discuss it from different point of views, of course, but basically it's an ongoing debate, and I think it will be ongoing for dozens of years to come.
Yeah, and it's just theory based at this time, right? And we'll see who's right, who's wrong in a few years down the road. But I think there'd be definitely bigger problems at hand if that was an issue. Yeah.
Yeah. We should do a podcast on quantum computing sometime. That would be fun. That would be great. We should definitely do that. So we'll go back on target. One last comment on quantum computing people should think about is, what if you have quantum computers acting as good guys, acting as allies instead of adversaries? And think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
So let's it'll be great. We'll do a podcast on quantum computing. It'll be awesome. So let's do a question from Jobin. This is a great question I've heard a few times, even on Twitter, and that was, how do you differ from a competitor? And I've heard this about other types of storage solutions, especially when they're thinking about Cache, like a decloud computing platform, and Filecoin or Arweave storage. So I don't know if you're familiar with those, but how is Iagon different or improved compared to
we're familiar with some of them, as for sure. First, we want to point out that competition is good for the space. It creates innovative, creative projects. It helps motivate and push other projects to do better, come up with new ideas, come up with unique ideas. So it's a driving force. I think competition is healthy. At the same time, in the traditional space, right, you can see that there's a lot of, let's say, if you're looking at just cloud storage, there's a lot of competitors, and it's not just one coming out and okay, can say I win. There's multiple solutions. People are not going to be using the same platform. In terms of differentiation, what we can say is that we have smart allocation. The AI makes us unique. We basically, right now, as far as we know, all storage kind of solutions have random allocation. And that won't work for GDPR compliance, HIPAA compliance, other types of compliance or regulatory issues for data. So for smart random allocation for our Alexandria protocol, which is the decentralized AI, this creates a unique aspect where it's smartly allocating the shards randomly, but in a smart fashion, right? The other thing is that we actually, since we put a lot of time and effort, and we actually put our own funds into this project, we spent a lot of time on it. We actually went for a different route than most blockchain projects. We went for a patent instead of an open source kind of. I think a lot of people in the blockchain community, is a big issue about open source and stuff like that. But we wanted to make sure we secure the technology. So we filed a patent in 2018. I think that's another uniqueness that we want to point out, which we tend to be open source in eventually, but we want to have that first mover advantage. We don't want to we didn't want to waste our funds and the time and effort that we put into the project to, just have another project copy us and have more traction and beat us in the long run. We're highly motivated to have this succeed, right? Those are the two key differentiators, I believe. Lad, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, we actually started the project in terms of addressing the layman. I mean,
Yeah.
the people that don't have to be, computer scientists or even a crypto savvies, but really simple people that need solution in order to store the files, in order to use computing power. And another aspect, so it's a very, very user-friendly platform in terms of the installation, in terms of adhering to the simplicity of operating processes, in terms of a uploading, downloading file, etc., etc. It's a very user-friendly platform because it was built like that, but people that appreciate simplicity and sophistication behind the user interface. And another point is that we actually provide a one-stop shop in the terms that we offer both a solution for a decentralized storage as well as a solution for decentralized computing power. So you don't have to install variety of projects, variety of applications to enjoy both of them.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize on the lad's point in terms of the ease of use. I think a lot of blockchain projects are focusing a lot of their on the back end, but they're not concentrating a lot of the energy on the front end, and that's hindering a lot of the adoption in the industry. It's easier said than done, but I think that the front end needs to be a high focus on a lot of the blockchain projects, and that's what we're kind of focusing on to gain user adoptability, to gain adoption. Is the ease of use. So we're putting a high emphasis on UI, UX. And I just want to comment briefly on Imonti's comment. Patent Charles does not like that word. I understand that. That's definitely, but I think we're very in the beginning stage, like Cardano was, or a lot of these other projects in the beginning stage that were closed. Even though they didn't file a patent, a lot of the early development was closed environment. So I would like to point that out. So we're a very early phase, and we'd like to obviously make it open source and down the road.
And another difference, of course, is both the solution running on Ethereum, and it's going to run on Cardano as well.
Yeah. I am totally on board with there's a place for open source and there's a place for patent and closed source. I'm fine with either one of them. I've seen the problems you have with open source with, who's going to maintain it, who's going to monetize it so they can run it indefinitely. That people run into problems with stealing ideas from other people, so there's some trade-offs there. Most of the apps I buy, I'm an Apple user, and I'm glad you're focusing on the UI UX, and here's why. Blockchain is very developer centric. Not entirely, but for the most part. It will achieve greater adoption when it becomes user-centric. It needs to become user-centric. It is not quite there yet. I'm an Apple user. I use Apple products. I'm the guy who buys apps from independent developers for $2.99 on my iPhone, $3.99, $4.99. For me, it's worth it. I get a good app. It's maintained. I can rely on it. It works.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's just I'm okay with paying $3 here and $4 there for a couple of nice little apps that I can rely on.
Exactly. You want it to you want it. The simple thing is you want it to work and it's easy to use, right? And that's what we're kind of driving, right? And a lot of people in the blockchain community, it's a lot of emphasis put on other things that aren't really traditional end user based, like let's see your GitHub, let's see your white paper. It's not like in a traditional market sense. No one's going to ask for Google's GitHub. No one's going to ask for Google's white paper. They're just using the products because it's simple and easy to use, right? And that's what we're striving for.
I think that from a technological point of view, when you ride a car, you never want to open the hood. you open the hood only when there are problems, right?
For the most part, I open the hood because
you are
yeah,
interested.
for the most part, you don't want to open the hood, right?
Sure,
I'm
a technologist. Yeah, I'm a technologist as well. But believe me that I would love a very simple solution whenever I can get one. Sure.
Nice. Let's talk about the tokenomics a bit. A few questions started coming up. There was one from the Naughty Nomad. It seems like a great project. Is the project fully invested at this stage? Are you at the stage of requiring funding? But you said earlier that you are on funding. Thank you, Naughty Nomad, for those questions, and thanks to the viewers for the questions. You said earlier that you have funding, but how does the tokenomics work? Is there an Iagon token? Can I buy it?
Yes.
Is it
yes.
an ERC20? Is there going to be one on Cardano? So what do you got? What do you got?
Yeah, currently it's an ERC20 token. So we actually closed the private and seed round for 3.4 million, and we're gonna raise 200K on an IDO on 2 platforms, OpenFi and Toastis, and 100K each on each platform, and it's going to be at 4 cents per token. What the token is actually, it's going to be ERC20, but we're going to be migrating to Cardano when the smart contract feature is ready. And what the token is going to be used for, obviously, to reward resource providers and also to pay for subscriptions. But we're trying to create more utility for the IAG token, like staking. But we're going to do staking in a different direction than it's normally done. So we want to reward people that stake IAG tokens with actually USDC. So it's going to be a different type of model than you see out there. What's going to happen is we're going to use Swissborg as our partners, and we're going to stake USDC at SwissVault. And IAG stakers can stake their IAG tokens, but we will share our profits that we earn from Swissborg with our IAG stakeholders. And our IAG holders can also stake alongside with us the USDC and return get a higher API because APY because we get a higher grade because we're enterprise grade. We get an enterprise membership with Swissborg and a higher return, right? That way they can stake with us and earn a higher API than they would in a traditional market. But also some of that APY, sorry, I keep on saying API, but some of that APY would go to the pool of Iagon stakers. And that will be the unique kind of features, but we're also thinking of other ways to create utility. Utility is very important to make sure that there's demand to buy the token, and we understand that from an investor point of view. So we're definitely going to be striving to create more utilities, and that's why we're creating a lot of dApps built on our core product, like the GDPR solutions and also reputational models later on that will create more utility and features that people can use within the platform.
Okay, thank you. And will those be available on the Occam DEX as well? I noticed Mikhail Coelho said the IDO is scheduled for next Monday. That's on the 28th.
Yeah, 28th. Yeah, 28th. It'll be on Toastis, OpenFi. You can also follow our socials to keep up to date with the list and in terms of the times and the schedules for that IDO. Yeah.
Okay. And then in the out months, and my best guess is late August, early September timeframe, the Cardano smart contracts will be out. So at some point after that, you'll have some sort of platform to do it on Cardano as well.
Sure. We have 2 of our developers on a Plutus program right now. And we're following, we're following very closely. We're in touch with Cardano Foundation. We're talking to Jeremy. We're in constant communication with them and trying to create more adoption, more collaboration within the Cardano ecosystem. So we want to be ready right when the smart contract feature is released. We want to be the first cloud computing storage platform on Cardano, definitely.
Nice. I'm glad to hear about a sale a week before it goes on. I don't accept tokens, but I'll buy some and play with them. That's good news. That's good news. All right. So viewers, links are down in the description. Checking them out down there. We also have the link to Iagon's Twitter, and they're posting updates to news on the Twitter account. So make sure you get on that Twitter, follow them on Twitter so you get the latest updates for the IDOs coming out and the latest technological advancements. You guys will be posting updates over there. All right. Anything else on the tokenomics? I want to give you guys the last words before we wrap up for the day. While we're doing that, I'll check to see if there's any other last minute viewer questions. We got a lot of good questions in today. Thank you to the viewers.
We got some really good questions. Active community, definitely. I mean, last words we're saying, it's like we want to really like strive to get adoption is the biggest challenge in any blockchain project, right? And that's what we're striving to solve. From a business aspect, we know that very well, that in a traditional market, people want ease of use and something that works. So we're really emphasizing on ease of use, and we really want to solve that adoption through there. And we want everyone, not just the blockchain community, but everyone from a simple Joe, businesses, enterprise, to understand what they're doing with that specific project. We don't want to put the back end on the front end. That's not how it should work. We want to make sure that it's the front end stays neat, beautiful. That's my comment. Ella, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, we started with a vision to serve a wide community of, simple people, huge corporates, startups, small companies, and so on and so forth, in terms of the technology, in terms of the value, and also in terms of the simple interface. And I think we still sustain this kind of vision. We have it every day. This is what we work towards, and we are very excited that Cardano enables us, the platform, to provide this solution with smaller cost and larger scalability.
Wow. This is great. I think you guys are going to have more information to follow up with maybe in August, September timeframe. You guys want to come back on Cardano Live, just let me know. You can hit me up on Telegram, Twitter, however you want to do it. Thank you, Elad, for being here today. And thank you for those wrap-up words we have. This sounds like a great project. I think people are excited. I think people are happy to hear about it. That's just my opinion. I know I'm excited. I'm starting to feel it. I'm feeling the excitement. Yep, especially today. Today's a great day to have a little bit of excitement because the market was looking pretty rough out there. Now, Jeet, thank you for being on.
Not a problem. And thank you for having us, Rick. Definitely, this is a pleasure being here, and definitely we'll come on for a second chat if you'd have us.
Oh, certainly. Absolutely. All right. We'll keep in touch. Thank you to the viewers. Thank you, Elad. Y'all hit that like and subscribe button down below. Check out the description down below. I have my disclaimers in the description. I'm not putting out disclaimers during the conversations anymore. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rick. Bye-bye.